second time, well, Lloyd, you could win $1 million. Good luck. Super Saturday and begins in Winnipeg with Gord Miller and Glenn Suter.
Thank you, Rod. Some frost on the ground this morning, a chill in the air, and two arch rivals meeting in a very important football game as the Saskatchewan Roughriders visit the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They'll play for the third and final time this season.
Willie Jefferson plays defensive end, not defensive back, and yet he has 2 interceptions for touchdowns. His first was here in September in the Labor Day rematch. His second last week versus Edmonton. His pick 6 sealed the deal in that game. We have 2 defensive players on the marquee today for the Bombers. No surprise, Winnipeg's leader on defense made the big play of the game against Ottawa last week in overtime. It's Adam Bighill.
Mike O'Shea's Winnipeg Blue Bombers won 3 in a row, then lost 4 in a row. Now once again riding a 3-game winning streak after dropping both ends of the Labor Day back-to-back against Saskatchewan. Chris Jones' Saskatchewan Roughriders can clinch a home playoff berth today with a win this afternoon and a BC loss or tie tonight. They've won 7 of their last 8.
Winnipeg won the toss and deferred. Saskatchewan will get the ball first. 2 rivals going at it.
Yeah, possible playoff preview, and Winnipeg has dropped the first 2 meetings this year, and if nothing else, needs to prove to itself it can beat Saskatchewan. Justin Medlock sends it deep to Thigpen inside the 10-yard line. And Marcus Thigpen brought down right away. As down to help make the stop is Brian Bennett, a quarterback for the Blue Bombers who plays on special teams.
Zach Collaros' numbers, I think most impressive is the win-loss since he's returned to the lineup. 8-3 for Collaros. You take a look at the numbers, touchdowns, interceptions he'd like to improve on. Both the quarterbacks in this game here this afternoon, very similar career numbers between Matt Nichols and Zach Collaros.
Saskatchewan beat Edmonton last week without scoring an offensive touchdown. And on first down, Collaros up and throwing, and almost picked there. Wow. As Marcus Sales stepped up, and that was almost 6 the other way.
Boy, they had 2 defensive backs, the Bombers, that had a crack at that. Sales and Chris Randall both breaking downhill on that one. The one thing about Saskatchewan's offense this year that's a little predictable is they like those hit screens and quick game.
On 2nd and 10, Collaros stands in, swings it out, and Thigpen is buried by Kevin Fogg. The gain may be a yard. It'll be 3rd down, but there's a flag down, and Saskatchewan indicating it's against Winnipeg. Tom Valesi is today's referee.
Illegal block, hands to the face. Winnipeg number 54. 10-yard penalty. The result will be a first down.
Well, Tristan Opolugo is called for hands to the face. This will extend the drive for Saskatchewan.
Well, Opolugo is right over here. He's at that defensive end spot. Take a look and see if he gets his hands up in the face here of Jacoby Cofield. Underneath the chin and drives him back. That's no question a penalty. The right call by the official and a first down for Saskatchewan.
Just inside the Rider 30. And now Collaros goes to the ground, gives off to Trey Mason, and Mason wrapped up right away. And not much of a gain there as Brandon Bryant got in to stop that.
Take a look at the offense for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Caleb Hawley replaces Jordan Williams-Lambert in this one this afternoon. Williams-Lambert, a late scratch in the week as he's dealing with injuries. Philip Blake, after just 1 day of practice since the trade with Montreal before the deadline, starts at left guard. They'll move Brendan Labatt in for Dan Clark at center.
Gain was 1 at 2nd and 9. Collaros throws, and the pass is caught by Shaq Evans. Room to run to midfield. Brought down there by Chris Randall, a gain of 25 yards and a Saskatchewan first down.
Two big name receivers out of the lineup for Saskatchewan here this afternoon. Jordan Williams-Lambert, as I mentioned. Naaman Roosevelt not quite ready to return as well. So you know that Zach Collaros is going to have to lean on Shaq Evans in this one, and that was a throw in a tight window.
You mentioned Willie Jefferson has returned 2 interceptions for touchdowns this year. He's caught more passes for touchdowns than any Saskatchewan receiver or running back in the game today. Here comes the blitz. Caleros throws the pass incomplete in behind Caleb Hawley.
The entire Saskatchewan fan base just groaned when you said that. Let's take a look at the Winnipeg D. Craig Rowe's been on fire of late. 4 sacks in the last 3 games for Rowe. He leads the team with 7. There's the guy who made the big play against the Ottawa Redblacks in overtime to force the fumble on Brad Sinopoli and seal the deal. And Kevin Fogg does it all. He returns kicks, leads the team in interceptions with 4. Also has a touchdown on missed field goal return. The only guy to do that in the league this year.
On second down, Caleros, well protected, swings it out. The pass incomplete for Devon Bailey. And that'll bring up 3rd down for Saskatchewan at midfield, and the punting unit, led by Josh Bartell, will come on.
Boy, for Saskatchewan, though, that one was one that got away, that last play, because Winnipeg went with blitz. It was picked up and blocked. Zach Caleros had time to throw against a blitz. Just a little off on the pass.
Fogg took a missed field goal back for a touchdown in Winnipeg's opening game of the season. That's the only kick return for a touchdown they have so far this year. Good kick by Bartell. Fogg at the 15-yard line. Flag comes down. The ball comes out. And it's recovered by Saskatchewan. As pouncing on it was Brandon Bartlett, but we'll see what the penalty is, as it appeared to be no yards against Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it looked like Samuel Aguavin was inside the no-yard zone, the 5-yard halo around Kevin Fogg.
No yards. Saskatchewan number 47. 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
And negates the turnover. So Winnipeg dodges one there. Matt Nichols and company will go to work for the first time when we come back. The CFL on TSN is brought to you by the Nissan Kickoff Project. Nominate a high school football player today at nissankickoffproject.ca. The situation for Winnipeg, Glenn, is very simple. When the Bombers commit fewer turnovers, they're 8-0. When they don't, they're 0-7.
Well, and that starts with Matt Nichols. And Matt Nichols, when they were in their funk, in their 4-game losing streak, the interceptions were adding up for Nichols. And when he fixed the problem against Montreal, the 31-14 win a couple weeks back, that's when things started to turn for Winnipeg.
Last time against Saskatchewan, picked off 3 times in the first half. 2 of them went back for touchdowns, and he was replaced at halftime.
Yeah, he's got to exercise some demons today. He's looking over there at Willie Jefferson and Samuel Aguavin, and I'm sure has had some bad memories of the Labor Day rematch.
First down from Winnipeg 30-yard line, and here is Andrew Harris in the first down carry. And he is wrapped up right away and brought down by Saskatchewan's Toby Antiga.
But he does have the top rushers in the league behind him in Andrew Harris, and he does get Weston Dressler. He was a last-second decision by Michael O'Shea, put on the roster and is in the lineup, but there was some question. Stanley Bryant and Jamarcus Hardrick, whenever you play against the Saskatchewan Roughriders defense, you've got to control their defensive ends in Charleston Hughes and Willie Jefferson, so we'll watch those 2 tackles here this afternoon.
Gain of 1, 2nd and 9 for the Bombers. Nichols under pressure, and he gets away from the first wave, dumps it off to Harris. And Harris, fighting for yards, gets up to the 31-yard line. He'll be well short. And Saskatchewan, which leads the league in forcing the opposition 2 and out, does it once again. The 91st time this year the Saskatchewan D has done that.
Looked like it was Cameron Judge that gets initial pressure on Matt Nichols. He's in here, and they're coming with blitz. There's Willie Jefferson beside him. You see the different looks that Chris Jones will give you. He steps up the field, eats up the block. It's Matt Elam coming off the edge from the corner position, the short corner.
And now Justin Medlock to punt. Low driving kick into the wind. And brought back by Moore. And a fumble, and who got it on the way out of bounds? They're ruling Saskatchewan keeps it. So some nervous moments for Kyron Moore, and Saskatchewan will have the ball for the second time in a scoreless opening quarter on a triple header day on the CFL on TSN. The similarities, Glenn, are really striking. Zach Collaros is 30, Matt Nichols is 31, and their numbers are almost identical.
Yeah, but you look at them differently, I think. I mean, Zach Collaros is trying to make a comeback, and he's on the road to a comeback in his career with an 8-3 record for the Riders. And Matt Nichols trying to prove that he can get to a championship game, that he can lead a team to a championship. Remember, Zach Collaros was in a championship game in the Grey Cup against Bo Levi Mitchell, and but for a late penalty, may have won it.
First down, Riders from their 35-yard line after an illegal contact penalty. Collaros hit late, gets it away. Moore's lost it, picked out of the air and brought back the other way for Winnipeg. Anthony Gator up the sidelines. Touchdown! Winnipeg giving Saskatchewan a bit of its own medicine.
Straight safety blitz from Taylor Loeffler, and he is clean through the middle of the offensive line right there, and Zach picks it up, gets it to Kyron Moore, who just doesn't control the football. Pops up in the air. Anthony Gator takes it to the house, and another pick six on the season.
That's the second for him this year. If that's ruled an interception, which it likely will be, Gator had one the last time these two teams met. So Saskatchewan came in with 9 defensive touchdowns on the year, but Winnipeg gets a big one here to grab the early lead. And Medlock, who hasn't missed a point after all year, puts it up from 32 and is good. Anthony Gator, the 30-year-old from Miami, former BC Lion, with a huge play here in the first quarter.
So safety blitz from Taylor Loeffler, but watch Adam Bighill on the play. Now he's got to cut downhill on the crossing route to Kyron Moore. He strips it out of there like he did against Ottawa in the key moment of that game in overtime. He creates another fumble.
And they're ruling this a fumble, so that's the 4th forced fumble by Bighill this season to lead the league in that department. And so it's a fumble recovery for Gator and a touchdown.
Well, Adam Bighill closing in on another 100 tackle season. You mentioned the other stats and ways that he contributes. Also has 7 tackles for losses.
That's it. Love you, Dad.
I love what he just said. That's film study. Watching the video, seeing how they beat the blitz. Went with Taylor Loeffler on the safety blitz. The check down guy was Kyron Moore. He closed quickly on it and popped the ball out of there.
Medlock sends it deep to Thigpen at the 10-yard line. And Thigpen works his way out across the 40-yard line, forced out of bounds at the 41. So Saskatchewan goes right back on offense.
Great game last week against the Ottawa Red Blacks. Back and forth. 2 great running backs. Offense is looking good. Went to overtime. Ottawa had to score and get the 2-point convert to match. And here's where Adam Bighill stripped from behind, forced the fumble. Game over. Winnipeg wins that one. The leader at middle linebacker did it again here early in this one this afternoon.
Spent last year with the New Orleans Saints in the NFL. Said he's about 10 pounds heavier in the NFL. Dropped that weight to come back, be a little quicker here in the Canadian Football League. And the give to Moore on first down. Busts across the 50 and close to a Saskatchewan first down.
This time he's got to play run defense. He steps up and he takes on the block. I believe it was Brendan Labatt getting out on him. No, it wasn't. It was Bladek. And fights off that block, get in on the tackle on Trey Mason. That's the 600th tackle of Adam Bighill's career.
It is a first down for Saskatchewan at the Rider 51. And the give once again to Mason. And Mason gets wrapped up pretty quickly by Brandon Bryant and a host of other Bombers. And the gain is maybe a couple.
We're watching this afternoon. The #1 rushing team in the league is Winnipeg with Andrew Harris. But #3 quietly and real close to that #2 spot has been Saskatchewan with Trey Mason coming on of late.
These two teams run the football more than any other in the Canadian Football League. And don't forget, you've got Philip Blake, who's had one practice for Saskatchewan, playing left guard for the Riders. Second and long. Caleros throws, and the pass is caught. And Kyron Moore hangs on a first down to the 47-yard line.
They'll do this, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and Richie Hall, defensive coordinator. Adam Bighill at times will line up on the line of scrimmage just to the left of your screen here, and he comes on the blitz, and Marcus Thigpen is the matchup. He's the guy who's supposed to step up and take that blitzing linebacker. Boy, he didn't get very much of him here, and as this is how they're going to try and block it with Marcus Thigpen, you can bet Richie Hall will go back to that linebacker blitz with Adam Bighill.
They marked him short of the 48-yard line, so we'll need a measurement here. 7-0 Winnipeg leading. Only 4 games this year have seen a team win when scoring fewer than 20 points. Calgary did it last week. Edmonton's done it. Saskatchewan's done it twice this season.
Well, they're winning with defense first. I mean, their defense is the strength of their football team this year. A lot of money spent on that side of the ball. A lot of.
And Saskatchewan about 3 links short of a first down. Caleros is coming back on. They had the short yardage team on for a moment. So it's 3rd and inches for Saskatchewan at the Winnipeg 49-yard line.
It's usually Nick Marshall time.
Caleros will take it straight ahead. Bighill came vaulting over, but Saskatchewan moves the sticks.
Very unusual for Zach Caleros to stay in there in short yardage. Usually it's David Watford that'll come out and play sort of a tight end or tailback spot, and Nick Marshall.
And Watford has to come on because you must have a quarterback.
Keep the quarterback out there, yeah.
You have to have a quarterback in the formation somewhere. Why is that?
We don't have time. We got a game going on here.
Good point by you. First down from the 47-yard line. 4-man rush. Caleros stands in and throws. The pass is intercepted. Picked off by Taylor Loeffler. He's off and running. Loeffler crosses midfield out of bounds at the Saskatchewan 47-yard line. Another turnover forced by the Winnipeg defense. Loeffler's got his 2nd interception of the year. Winnipeg has the lead and has the football on the CFL Live on TSN.
On the blitz, Taylor Loeffler right here is dealing with double posts. He's got Patrick Lavoie, the newcomer, going here, and Kyron Moore in behind him. And he takes the speedier Kyron Moore, and he jumps it, staying high on the play. Doesn't get influenced by the first crosser in front of him from Patrick Lavoie. And he sits on this deeper post from Moore. Great film study and play on the football from the free safety.
And now a first down for Winnipeg from the Saskatchewan 49-yard line. Winnipeg leads the league in points off turnovers this season. The first down carry to Harris, and he gets wrapped up by Samuel Leguavin.
Well, the number 2 ranked defense against the run, defense that has more sacks than any team in the league with 41. Willie Jefferson, the big game against Edmonton, and the big play, his 2nd pick 6 for a touchdown. Samuel Leguavin here on the Labor Day rematch had an interception for a touchdown against Matt Nichols. And then in the secondary, there's Nick Marshall. Again, a guy doing a little bit of everything for the Riders.
No gain. It's 2nd and 10. And Nichols under pressure, and he is dropped. Matt Elam, the corner, brings him down. And last week against Edmonton, Glenn, Saskatchewan brought 5 or more 2/3 of the time in passing situations.
You know, I'm reluctant at times to call these guys like corners or safeties or halfbacks because the way Chris Jones plays him, he's right up the top of your screen, coming off the edge. Inside pass rush move from Charleston Hughes, and Matt Elam comes off that corner, but he'll play in the box, he'll play safety sometimes, and sometimes he'll play corner.
3rd sack of the year. for the corner
yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And the defensive end has 2 pick six for,
Here's Medlock. Sends it down to Moore inside the 10-yard line. It's wrapped up at the 18. Good special teams tackle by Winnipeg's Thomas Miles. 7-0 Winnipeg leads here in quarter number 1. Adam Bighill now 602 tackles in his career, 93 on the season. A chance for him to have a 4th 100 tackle year.
It's obviously something special. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I never thought about going into this league of the things that I could accomplish like that. But, you know, you put in the hard work, you put in the time, and you get to moments like this where these become real conversations. And, you know, I'm just looking to improve and get better every single year. And I feel like I'm just getting into my prime where, you know, things are at all-time slow right now. I'm out there to be able to play fast and be consistent.
Game slow in front of him. He's playing fast. And if there's more to come, yikes, because the numbers he's already accumulated, outstanding.
Just 29 years of age in his 7th CFL season, former CFL Defensive Player of the Year. First down, Saskatchewan from its 18-yard line. Fake to Thigpen, Collaros throws, and Shaq Evans has the pass out close to the 30-yard line. Kevin Fogg got a hand on him. And Shaq Evans still looking for his first touchdown catch of the year for Saskatchewan. Leads the team with 45 catches on the season.
Yeah, trying to find, well, this whole offense is trying to find the end zone more often. I think this is something that's still a work in progress as we go down the final stretch of the season here. And the Riders try and lock up a home playoff game, but their defense keeps them in games or wins it for them.
First down from the 30 to the ground of Thigpen. And Thigpen out to the 36-yard line. Stopped up there by Craig Rowe.
Well, lots of change motion there just to try and confuse and freeze the defense. Got a couple of players in Kenny Shaw and Kyron Moore that go one direction and Marcus Thigpen going the other. See if they can influence Adam Bighill in the middle and Javon Santos Knox, who's having an all-star season right beside Bighill, learning from him.
On 2nd and 4, Loeffler coming. Collaros throws. The pass caught by Bailey and sails all over him. Will limit the gain to maybe a yard, well short of a Saskatchewan first down. So 3rd down, and Josh Bartell comes in to punt, and Kevin Fogg back deep to receive. Not much wind here this afternoon. It's gusting, but if there is any, it's behind Bartell.
It was more than gusting early this morning.
Over 40 kilometers an hour this morning. Died down here a bit this afternoon. There was some snow this morning as well. And Bartell looks at high in the air. Fogg inside the 40-yard line, and he gets buried. As hustling down was Jorgen Hughes for Saskatchewan. Let's join Sarah Oleski on the sidelines.
Well, Gord, off the top of the show, Glenn mentioned about how Willie Jefferson has had 2 pick sixes in the last 5 weeks. Willie told me that it's been a dream as a defensive lineman. You never think you're going to get the opportunity to do that. In his one against Winnipeg, he took the long route into the end zone. I asked him about it. He admitted that it was some showboating going on. He wanted to send a message about the Saskatchewan defense to not only the Bombers, but to the league about how dangerous they are. As for the pick six against Edmonton, it was all about trying to take time off the clock. And he said that it paid off in the end. Chris Jones told me, though, he was very nervous watching him do it. The only things he would say was that he was hopeful there was going to be no penalty on the play.
And the pass is caught deep to Darvin Adams. Adams, touchdown. Just the 2nd pass Matt Nichols throws here in the first quarter. and it's a touchdown to Darvin Adams, 72 yards.
Well, a play like that will help exercise some of the demons that Sarah just mentioned when they faced each other in the Labor Day rematch, and Matt Nichols had the interception issues, because this is a beautiful throw right down the middle on the deep post in behind Mike Edom. And away goes Darvin Adams, and he's been waiting on that big deep throw for some time now. It's been a few games since he's had his last.
9th touchdown catch of the year for Darvin Adams. And Winnipeg has had things go its way here in the opening quarter. Great defense and then an explosive offensive play for Matt Nichols and Darvin Adams. And Medlock puts it through. He's made 57 straight point after down.
You know, sometimes we talk about play action and how it can influence the linebackers and slow the pass rush. But if the receiver in Darvin Adams plays it and plays like he's just going to, oh, this is just a running play, and then takes off down the field, he can also influence the defensive backs. Watch how Darvin Adams plays like, oh, this is just a running play. Don't worry about me sitting right here. And then he puts it in high gear, and away he goes, splitting the two defenders. Matt Nichols puts it right on him over that inside shoulder.
You know, for all the problems Winnipeg has had at times this year, Glenn, lead the league in touchdowns and offensive points.
Big play by Darvin Adams, and a 72-yarder, his first over 30-yard reception in 3 games.
And the last time Matt Nichols played Saskatchewan here, he got booed. In fact, he was benched in the second half, and they booed a video of him on the scoreboard in the second half.
But on a 3-game win streak right now, that was a big play.
Thigpen from the 20-yard line. And Thigpen pushed out of bounds at the 32. And Saskatchewan, without much going here in the opening quarter, gets the football back down 14.
You know, I go back to a couple of games ago when Winnipeg Blue Bombers against Montreal started, and Edmonton started sending more pressure defensively. You know, Richie Hall decided that he was going to get Adam Bighill and Javon Santos Knox more involved. I've seen 2 blitzes from the safety position from Taylor Loeffler already here this afternoon. They're trying to get after Zach Collaros in this one.
On first down, a 4-man rush. Collaros throws, the pass caught. And Thigpen brought down after a gain of maybe 2 or 3 on the play, gets up to the 35-yard line.
So Saskatchewan offensively, that forces them to go to the quick game. And now you got to consider, as you mentioned, Gord, Philip Blake in after just one practice at right guard. I mean, how familiar will he be in the blitz pickup?
On second down, a low snap. Collaros thinks about running and gets tripped up from behind as Craig Rowe gets him. And once again, Saskatchewan will have to punt.
And remember, Brendan Labatt, the starting left guard, is now playing center. And Brendan Labatt has not taken a lot of these shotgun snaps. And that one low, so it takes Zach Collaros a split second to have to reach down, pick it up, takes his eyes off coverage, and Craig Rowe gets there.
Low tumbling kick, bounces down to Fogg inside the 30-yard line. And Fogg gets out to the 35. And the opening quarter comes to an end. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers get a touchdown on defense and a big play on offense. A 14-0 lead against their arch rivals from Saskatchewan. The CFL Live on TSN, the first of 3 on this Saturday here in Winnipeg. Sometimes the numbers don't tell the full story, and sometimes they're just downright confusing. Winnipeg had 1 first down. The 72-yard touchdown pass to Darvin Adams counts as a first down. That's the only one they had in the opening quarter. They had 1 rushing yard, lead the game 14-0, thanks in large part to some great defensive work, scoring a touchdown and more. Gord Miller back here with Glenn Suter. Glenn, this is a big statement game for Winnipeg.
Yeah, it's a big boy game. It's a game where they are either going to become contenders and go after it, get that playoff spot, and take a run in the playoffs, or they're going to just fade away. And I agree with Milt Stiegel before the game when he said that, you know, this is a statement game for Winnipeg, that it kind of tells you where they're at. Are they the team that went through the 4-game losing streak, lost to Saskatchewan back-to-back in Labor Day in the Labor Day rematch, or are they a playoff team that started the season? And the long way to answering that question will happen this afternoon.
First down from the 34. Nichols lost it for a moment, now gives the ball off to Andrew Harris, and Harris shy of the 40-yard line. Andrew Harris 10 carries for 21 yards the last time these two teams met.
But the game before that,
yes,
on Labor Day, on the Labor Day weekend, he had the 158 against Saskatchewan.
15 carries.
Yeah, and so, you know, I think this is the formula for Winnipeg. They try and protect the football, get the lead, and then grind it out with Andrew Harris.
Game was forward, 2nd and 6. Nichols looking deep again. He's got a man. The pass over the head of Drew Wolodarski, and he was open.
Yeah, he was. In behind coverage again. That's a couple from Saskatchewan. Don't see it very often. They do a lot of different things, different looks, and Wolodarski coming from the left of your screen. You see the look off from Matt Nichols. He looks hard to his left to the Saskatchewan bench almost. Has an open receiver and just misses him.
So Medlock will punt, standing inside his 25-yard line. Another low kick. Thigpen at the 30. Gets a block and gets across the 40 out to the 41. Tackled there by Abubakar Kante. So this is the first of 3 today, and lots on the line today. Up next, Ottawa and Edmonton at 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. William Powell and Andrew Harris in that battle to see who will win the rushing title this year. And then later on tonight, the Lions and the Stampeders. Nothing really settled in the West Division as of yet.
Not yet.
We know Calgary's in.
Holding Winnipeg number 46. Be a 10-yard penalty and will repeat 3rd down.
So Winnipeg will have to punt it again. Saskatchewan had the ball at its 41-yard line. It was a poor kick by the Bombers, so you wonder if they would just take the field position, but so Medlock gets a second chance at it.
Yeah, one of the captains said, let's kick it again. Now Saskatchewan is trying to change the call and decline the penalty. They had the option, obviously.
So Medlock now inside his 15-yard line, and we'll keep track of where this winds up. Better kick by Medlock. Chases Thigpen inside his 30-yard line. Lost a yard.
Lost a yard, but took 2, 3, 4 more hits. You know, sometimes you want to kick over, and the strategy is to make the other team kick again because their kick team is tired.
Sure.
You have to cover the 45, 50 yards, and you might get 1 guy or 2 guys that are a little bit tired, don't get in their lanes properly, and you break a big one. So that's part of the strategy in making a team kick it again.
So first down Saskatchewan from the Rider 39-yard line. And the first down carry to Mason, and Trey Mason gets out to the 46-yard line, tackled there by Tristan Opolaugo.
Just kind of bobbing.
Mason shaking up.
Play.
Just kind of bobbing and weaving his way here, trying to find a hole. Double tight end set for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They can do that in a couple of ways now with Spencer Moore as their tight end, or Patrick Lavoie can come in relief, the newcomer in that trade from Montreal. By the way, Joshua Stanford went the other way for a pick in 2020.
And Saskatchewan's running some late season injury problems with some key players out on offense. 2nd and 4. 4-man rush. Caleros throws, and the pass is caught by Hawley. The mark is forward progress at the 49-yard line. He'll be just short of a Saskatchewan first down.
Yeah, short enough, though, where I think Chris Jones will probably go ahead and go for it.
No, the mark.
They gave it to him.
Give it to him as a first down, so the drive continues.
A little surprised at that mark, actually, because Caleb Hawley on his own came back a couple of steps to try and make a bigger play out of it, and then got tackled. He got away with forward progress on the spot, and it gave Saskatchewan first down.
Big Pen stays in, and the pass is intercepted, picked off again by Loeffler. Taylor Loeffler's got his 2nd of the game, and Winnipeg, with a 14-point lead, has the football back. Loeffler with 3 on the season, 2 of them here in the first half. Tune in today at halftime of the Eskimos Red Blacks game as we reveal our top 4 finalists for Kraft Heinz Project Play. One community will win $250,000 for upgrades to its recreational facility.
That play was cold, man. That shit was tough. I'm so happy.
No disguise on that last interception from Taylor Loeffler. He came down low and just read the throwing motion and eyes of Zach Caleros.
Direct snap to Harris, flips it off to Dressler. Weston Dressler off and running. Gets belted down by the safety, Mike Edom. But a little misdirection by Winnipeg results in a big gain.
Yeah, Dressler's going to come from this side, and a little misdirection is right. You got Nick Dembski with a nice block at the point of attack. Again, he was a last-second decision by Michael O'Shea to put him in the lineup.
20-yard gain. Takes it down to the Saskatchewan 25-yard line. And again, Winnipeg 8-0 this year when it wins the turnover battle. From the 25-yard line, Harris back on the ground, and Andrew Harris fights his way ahead inside the 20. Brought down there by Mikael Brooks.
Let's look back at that interception. Taylor Loeffler comes down. You'll see him in the left of your screen, and watch where Zach is looking. Zach Caleros is going to look him down and hold it right there. Look at this. Zach Caleros right there is looking right to his inside receiver and Kyron Moore, and that break, Taylor Loeffler is sitting there saying, well, I'm standing right here. You threw it almost right to me. It just, for a veteran quarterback, he's locking in too early on his receivers.
2nd and 3 for Winnipeg. Nichols gives it back off of a draw play to Harris, and Harris gets down to the 14-yard line and should have another Winnipeg first down.
Well, all of a sudden, a real important stop for the Saskatchewan defense. They need to hold Winnipeg to a field goal here. This one starts to get away on them. We talked about the importance of this game, not just in the standings for the Bombers, but just for their psyche. Who gets a team ahead of them in the standings, a team that beat them twice.
First time either team has been in the red zone, although Darvin Adams ran through it on his way to the end zone.
Quickly, full speed through it.
And out Nichols to the end zone, incomplete, looking there for Wolotarski. And back on the coverage was Nick Marshall.
Wolotarski tried to do what Darvin Adams did in the play action fake. He tried to sort of shortstop and almost double move it on Nick Marshall, but Nick Marshall was not fooled.
Brings up 2nd down from the 15-yard line. And there is Paul LaPolice, the offensive coordinator for Winnipeg. Former head coach here. Nichols under pressure, and down he goes. He is sacked As Ed Steele gets him, the Winnipeg native who's got about 30 friends and family here this afternoon. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who lead the CFL in quarterback sacks, get another.
Well, there he is, Eddie Steele. He's lined up right over Matthias Gosen, and he's just going to bull rush, take a look, get his hands out there, get his hands away from the block, and then get to Matt Nichols. Coverage sack. Matt Nichols was not going to force a throw and turn it over down in plus territory. Been much better at that in the last 3 games.
And now Medlock will try the field goal from the 28-yard line. Spreads it through, and 3 points off the turnover for Winnipeg. Bombers now lead 17-0 here in the first half.
Found a lower price on tires? We'll match it, guaranteed.
Well, Taylor Loeffler has been a big part of the opening half for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Kelowna, BC native has 2 interceptions here. His team leads by 17 points here in the first half. Back to the ground and back in the game for Saskatchewan is Trey Mason. And right away calling for help from the Saskatchewan sideline, as that's Darius Bladek who's down. And right away the Bombers were motioning to the Saskatchewan sideline. Darius Bladek, second-year man out of Bethune-Cookman. And don't forget Dan Clark, their #1 center, is already out, so they've moved over Brendan Labatt to play center. Philip Blake, acquired this week from Montreal, is starting at left guard after practicing once with the team. So Josiah St. John, the first overall pick in the draft a couple of years ago, is the next man up for Saskatchewan.
Well, it also would change their double tight, possibly formation, where Josiah St. John comes out with the starting group. They do have Eddie Steele that can sub in an emergency situation offensively. There he is right there at right guard. Let's take a look at what happens to Bladek. Gets that left leg rolled up on.
And right away Santos Knox was gesturing to the Saskatchewan sideline. Winnipeg leads by 17 here in the second quarter. Right guard Darius Bladek is up to his feet, and now they'll get him on the cart. This is a awful situation for him, obviously, and for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who, as we mentioned, Glenn, have run into a series of injuries to their offensive players.
Well, I mentioned Naaman Roosevelt and Jordan Williams-Lambert in the receiving corps.
Now you got Dan Clark and Bladek on the offensive line. So Josiah St. John, the first overall pick in the 2016 Canadian Football League draft, will draw in. Saskatchewan only has 1 reserve offensive lineman dressed. So as you mentioned, should something happen to someone else, now you're looking to the defensive line.
Yeah, Eddie Steele can play both ways, and he's plugged in on offense before. Hopefully it doesn't get to that, and the rest of the guys will be fine the rest of the way out, and we hope the best for Bladek as they go and take a look at that left leg.
So Josiah St. John, 26 years of age, native of Toronto, played for the Oklahoma Sooners in the NCAA, draws in at right guard.
#1 pick. He hasn't come into his own yet. This is an opportunity for him to do that, to earn the trust of the coaching staff.
2nd and 8 for Saskatchewan from its own 37-yard line. Four-man rush. Colaros under pressure, heaves it deep, has a man. It is incomplete. incomplete. Couldn't find Kenny Shaw. Loeffler back on the coverage along with Brandon Alexander, and Saskatchewan will have to punt. And meantime, Thaddeus Coleman, the right tackle, is up and limping.
Take a look at how the O-line, as you mentioned them, Gord, are trying to handle. There's Josiah St. John. Look, he's looking at Zach Collaros, trying to handle the crowd noise here, and he sees Collaros get into that signal. As soon as he lifts his leg, he taps the center, Brendan Labatt. Brendan Labatt then snaps it immediately. That may be giving a little tip-off signal to the defensive line for Winnipeg. As soon as you tap the center's turning around and snapping it.
Bartel back to punt. High snap. A tumbling kick. Bounces down to Fogg at the 40. And Fogg pushed out of bounds at the 43-yard line. Let's join Sarah Orlesky.
Heading into this game, Gord, Matt Nichols said it's a night and day difference, the feeling around this team compared to what it was going into the Banjo Bowl when these two teams last met. I asked him if he had changed anything in his preparation over this stretch that has helped lead them back to the win column, and he said no, but admitted that you can maybe start to doubt your preparation when things aren't going well. What worked out well for him was that in his master's class, he's getting his master's from Gonzaga University. He had to do a report on Bill Belichick. In an article he found, Belichick spoke about how when you're doing the right things, if you have a few negative outcomes, that doesn't mean you need to change what you're doing. For him, that cleared things up, and he wants to continue to do what he needs to do. Trust his eyes, himself, and his teammates. And he says he feels he's gotten back to playing the type of football that we were used to seeing from Matt Nichols.
Passer to Andrew Harris for a gain of 4. The bye week came at a perfect time for Winnipeg after the second consecutive loss to Saskatchewan.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, and that's the most important stat right there, I think, for Nichols, and why he's been successful is because he limits his turnovers. He first of all, he hates it, as most quarterbacks do.
Under pressure, flushed out, throws that up, and the pass incomplete for Wolodarski.
But there's an example of it. I mean, rather than force it like he did in the Labor Day rematch a couple of times, the ball was turned over and turned into touchdowns. This time he just throws it away. His punt team comes out. The defense is playing great. You know, Matt Nichols' success formula, or formula for success, is basically 225, 240 yards passing, 1 or 2 touchdowns in a game, no interceptions. And the rest of the team around him, including a real good running game in Andrew Harris, produce wins.
Kyron Moore back along with Thigpen. Kyron Moore took one back for a touchdown in the Labor Day game against Winnipeg, but this is Thigpen inside the 20. And then forced out of bounds quickly by the Bombers.
For tickets, go to Riderville.com.
By the end of the day today, Saskatchewan was hoping to have nailed down a first ever home playoff game in their new home. A win this afternoon and a BC loss or tie tonight would be enough to do it. The Bombers, with a win today, would keep alive their hopes of playing a home playoff game.
Clear as mud.
Saskatchewan 10-5, Winnipeg 8-7. Collaros throws. Shaw can't hang on as Sale stepped into him. Simply put, though, Winnipeg has to finish ahead of Saskatchewan. They can't tie because the Riders have already won the season series.
Yeah, those 2 wins. This is game 3, so they can't, even with a win here tonight, the Bombers can't win the season series against Saskatchewan, but going back, and Josiah St. John now trying to signal the snap count one more time so that Labatt can look at the defense.
Here comes the rush. Collaros throws. Evans makes the catch. Thrown down right away by Chris Randall, well short of a Saskatchewan first down.
Let's show you that one more time, because you know I really think if you're a Winnipeg defender here, and this is the formula or how they're going to do it, it gives you a little bit of a chance to jump it. I mean, you know there'll be a split-second count. Now, for Brendan Labatt, I'm sure that they tell Brendan Labatt it doesn't have to be immediate. So once you get that tap, we'll go when you snap it. So make sure you make your read. The center has to look at the blitzes, make sure everyone knows who they're supposed to block up front. He's kind of the quarterback of that O-line, and then snap it.
Good kick by Bartel. Bounces out of bounds at the Winnipeg 47-yard line. So Matt Nichols and company will go back to work there. 3 first downs in the first half of the Winnipeg offense. 3 completed passes by Nichols and a 17-0 lead.
One was a 72-yarder to Darvin Adams. But interesting, though, I mean, we just showed you that ticket promo for games at Mosaic Stadium. And Mosaic Stadium, not the only stadium in the league that you have to practice against the crowd noise. You have to come up with a game plan to handle the crowd noise. Gets loud here as well.
On first down, the give to Harris. And Andrew Harris fights his way to midfield. Just 31 years of age is Andrew Harris in his 9th CFL season. Had 20 carries for 132 yards last week against Ottawa.
Yeah, he went head-to-head, basically. They don't play against each other, but head-to-head with William Powell and won that battle last week against Ottawa. Not only the scoreboard and yards rushing as well. 132 yards in that game on 20 carries.
And they'll give it up to Nick Dembski. And Dembski picks up a Winnipeg, or should be close to a first down when they mark him at the 53-yard line, be right at the first down marker. As you might expect in a game between these two, lots of conversation going on. I remember when you were in the middle of those conversations.
I was just trying to catch my breath. And I'm not sure they're called conversations, but
yes. Retorts.
There is some talk going on down there.
It is a first down for Winnipeg at the Saskatchewan 52. Nichols throws, and the pass is caught. Kendrell Tompkins goes to another Winnipeg first down. He's got it down to the 41-yard line.
That was a pretty good throw from Matt Nichols to get his body around. He saw the hot was there, so he had to get that lead shoulder pointed towards the target, flipped his hips quickly, and got it to Tompkins.
Getting nasty down there, and they're finger pointing. I think Saskatchewan moved the ball there when it was placed down. And
how is it that this is not a mic'd up game, and yet we can hear all the talking?
Well, we can guess. Back to the ground is Harris. Harris busts through. Gets down to the 31-yard line. Gain of 10. Should have another Winnipeg first down. We've reached the 3-minute warning, and Winnipeg with authority here in the opening half. Andrew Harris churning it out. The defense playing well. Winnipeg has a 17-point lead.
Under 3 minutes till halftime. Coming up, we'll talk about Zach Collaro's struggles against that Winnipeg defense, featuring maturing safety Taylor Loeffler, and also a huge one for the Edmonton Eskimos coming up in part 2 of our triple header. Henry's handing out dried fruit. Let's go back to Gordon Glenn.
2nd and inches now for the Bombers. So Chris Streveler and the short yardage team come on for Winnipeg. In a first half that has gone better than anyone here in Winnipeg could have imagined. And he's going to throw. Streveler has a man. Dressler. What a catch. Touchdown, Winnipeg. And Dressler shaken up, is holding his teammates off from the celebration. He was questionable for the game today. After a collision in practice this week, so the offensive line will do the leap. And Dressler slowly makes his way back to the Winnipeg sideline. Yeah, what a catch.
I think he landed on the ball, but it was a quick decision by Streveler to get this ball to him as quickly as possible. Throw it on a line rather than up with a lot of air under it. One, so he doesn't run into the goalpost. The other, so that none of the Rider defenders, including Nick Marshall, could break on that ball. So he puts it on a line. That forces Dressler to lay out for it. He lands on the ball, which is why he's hurt. But what a catch from Weston Dressler.
Perhaps not a coincidence that Winnipeg's 4-game losing streak coincided with Dressler being out of the lineup.
It isn't a coincidence. He's a catalyst. Straw that stirs the drink offensively. What a catch.
So a 2nd and inches play. And now Medlock for the point after. 5-play, 63-yard touchdown drive by the Bombers. And Winnipeg wanted to send a message today. Consider it received. A 24-0 first half lead.
Winnipeg receivers today are doing a nice job of baiting DBs into thinking it's a run play. Dressler does it again. Now this is short yardage, so you'd expect that, but even with that little hesitation at the line, Nick Marshall was in position to break on the ball if Strevler put any more air under it, but he didn't. He put it out there where only Dressler could get it.
Defense, it ain't going to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. You're going to have to overcome adversity. They're going to hit you with a play. You might as well go ahead and get it in your mind. Me too. You understand? They're going to hit you with a play. How do we respond?
And with a bunch of plays here in the first half.
Well, a couple in that first quarter. It was the Darvin Adams 72-yarder. And now Strevler on 3rd down hits Weston Dressler in what is an absolutely spectacular catch by number 7. We've seen a bunch of those in his career.
By the way, that's Strevler's 10th touchdown pass of the year for Winnipeg.
So now how does Saskatchewan respond was what the coach talked about before the game.
Thigpen from the 7. And Thigpen up to the 25-yard line. The Bombers flying around now. As a special team stop is made by Frederick Plutzius.
Well, now this pressure clearly and squarely on the shoulders of number 17, Zach Collaros, in this offense. They're going to be asked to try and come back in this game. That's something that they haven't been able to do all year. The formula for wins here for Saskatchewan has been win on defense, keep the score low, and chip away offensively. Well, now they can't chip away. They got to put some points on the board here this afternoon.
2:24 to go here in the first half. Here comes the rush. Collaros throws the pass. It's incomplete. Kenny Shaw can't squeeze it. He had one last week. Out of his hands. Check that. That's Curran Moore.
Well, I think he felt Javon Santos Knox in the area and bearing down. And he does step back to the ball to avoid that contact. But did you see the peak? That's a young receiver. Hey, it happens to veterans too. You see a linebacker coming at you and you just take a peek at him to try and avoid him and lose concentration on the football.
Brings up 2nd down. Wind picking up now here into the face of Saskatchewan. Here comes the rush, and Collaros has dropped Adam Bighill with the sack.
Wow.
What a first half for Winnipeg.
I saw that coming. Adam Bighill snuck up to the line of scrimmage. Jacoby Cofield was looking down at his defensive end directly in front of him. There's Adam Bighill up at the top. Look at Cofield. He's bearing down on Oplugo underneath, or his defensive lineman, and Jake Thomas. And how quickly Adam Bighill came off the edge.
Short of a Lotto Max win, how could the first half be going any better for the Bombers? Second sack of the year for Bighill.
We out here.
And now Fogg takes the punt at midfield. Oh, and a flag comes down at the end of that play as Fogg got belted by Saskatchewan's Samuel Iguavin.
During the return, illegal block, Winnipeg number 24. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Mike Miller called for the block, so the ball will come back to the Bombers' side of midfield with 1:46 to go. And Zach Collaros trying to find some answers on the tablet, talking to Steve Walsh.
Collaros' quarterback coach working with him to try and find some answers to what has become a dominant defense over the last 4 weeks.
Saskatchewan's gone 3 and out, or 2 and out rather, 3 consecutive times here. And there's Harris, wrapped up by Charleston Hughes for loss of a couple on the play.
Couple of tackles for 39 in this first half. Charleston Hughes got back on the sack chart again last week with another sack after a bit of a slump, if you can say it, with Charleston Hughes' season at 15 sacks leading the way. But he went 3 or 4 games without one.
2nd and 13. Nichols heaving it deep for Adams. Flag comes down. Back on the coverage was Luchez Purifoy. And looks as though Adams got held up, and the flag will go against Saskatchewan. Ed Gainey's arguing.
Well, Ed Gainey's arguing that it wasn't catchable. He's saying that ball was too far down the field. There was no way that Darvin Adams was going to get there. In fact, it almost looked like Adams sort of let up on the play after he got held.
Number 28. Point of foul, automatic, first down.
So it's a pass interference call, not illegal contact on Purifoy.
Yeah, Purifoy didn't like it either. Let's take a look. Here's Darvin Adams, a good one-on-one ISO shot for you from our guys down in the van. Little inside move. Hey, I don't know. That was questionable at best, but
gives Winnipeg a first down at the Saskatchewan 53. Fake to Harris, and now Nichols throws over the head of Adams. Now, your reference to the guys in the van goes back to your first game, your first year doing the CFL on TSN, and you referred to the guys in the van, and I pointed out to you that van costs about $12 million. But if someone writes a book about TSN, I think it should be called The Guys in the Van.
Well, we got some good guys down in the van right now, led by our producer John Hines down there. So good job, guys. Well, good first half so far.
2nd down. Nichols under pressure, gets away and flings it out to Dembski, and Dembski's got a first down at the sidelines, down to the 35-yard line. Gain of 18.
You know, Matt Nichols here, he gets in trouble. He's in trouble in the pocket, and so far this afternoon he's had that happen a couple of times, and both times he threw it away. This time he knew where his relief guy was. He knew where his check down was. Watch how quickly he makes the decision. He goes out and he says, wait, in this play I've got Nick Dembski sitting over there. He should be by himself. He threw that almost before he looked at him.
So first down at the Saskatchewan 35-yard line. Clock stopped at 1:08 here, so a chance for more points for Winnipeg. Play fake to Harris. Lots of time for Nichols. Swings it out. And the pass is caught by Wolotarski, who stumbled down to the 25. He had more room to run. And now Marshall is jawing with Kenbrell Tompkins.
Really using play action to their advantage today, the Bombers, and they're influencing not only the Saskatchewan DBs but linebackers. Look at all the flow going in there to Andrew Harris and Matt Nichols out and around the corner.
The video official has moved the spot. It's a first down.
Now he can pick and choose either his receiver, or if he wanted to there, he could have run for 8-9 yards.
Marked as a first down for Winnipeg at the Saskatchewan 25-yard line.
Makes sense, though, when you think about it. Chris Jones looking at game 1 on Labor Day saying Andrew Harris had over 150 yards. Game 2, we stopped him and held him well short of 50 yards. That was how we were successful. We got to stop him again, and play action is now how Winnipeg's getting behind him.
Strevler back in there now for the Bombers, and is it a bust or not? Strevler's off and running. Look at him go. Bust down to the 1-yard line. Strevler, a 24-yard gain. Was that intentional or not?
I think it was. I think it was. It's a different look. It's a play action again. But watch Strevler spin around like a top. Like what happened is a fake, but he knew where he wanted to go. The hole was opened up and blocked properly.
And now he dives ahead. Touchdown. Streveler throws one, runs for one, and picks up a 24-yard gain. And Winnipeg is having things its own way, like you read about.
And Paul LaPolice went deep into the playbook in a play where the quarterback spins like a top and then heads through the A-gap.
And don't forget the touchdown pass he threw was on a 2nd and inches play. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice game plan against what has been a dominant defense all year, the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
So Medlock now for the point after.
Hey, Smokey! That hole is fucking huge.
Medlock puts it up and good. And with 32 seconds to go in the opening half, it's 31-0 Bombers. A 7-play, 65-yard scoring drive for Winnipeg.
I just, you don't ever see a play action fake like that where the quarterback puts his back to the defense and completely spins around. I mean, that's a completely different look to make it look like it was a bust. I mean, watch Streveler again up tight in super slow motion. You usually have quarterbacks in play action. They'll fake it without turning their back to the defense so they can see where the pressure's coming from.
And you're right, Glenn. That was intentional. He never had the ball in his right hand to hand it off.
Exactly. He was never going to do the actual handoff, and it wasn't even a fake. It was to fake it to Andrew Harris. It wasn't the play action, traditional fake. Spins out of there while the rest of the defense is frozen. Who had the ball? They didn't know.
Keep playing physical. All right, let's go.
Buck Pierce urging on the Bombers.
Keep playing physical.
If you left a stray helmet down the sidelines, Buck could put it on. Wow.
Yep. I think Rider fans, I know it's just 32 seconds to halftime, but they're wondering about a quarterback change at half.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, you may need to get Brandon Bridge some reps anyway because you're looking at a postseason run and you may need him.
You got a makeshift offensive line.
He's more athletic, can run around a little bit more.
Wynn keeps blowing the ball off the tee for Medlock. So Winnipeg comes in at 8-7, Saskatchewan 10-5. Winnipeg has Calgary and Edmonton left. Saskatchewan has Calgary and BC remaining. Taken by Purifoy back at the 5-yard line. He's got a seam. And Purifoy was slowed up enough by Winnipeg's Marcus Sayles to stop him up at the 51-yard line. The first of 3 today. We've got Ottawa and Edmonton coming up at 5 Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific, and then later on tonight, it's the BC Lions and the Calgary Stampeders at 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific.
Well, those games matter. Oh, boy, the West is tight. One of the teams, BC, Edmonton, Winnipeg, are going to be outside looking in. And first place in the East isn't locked up yet.
First down carry taken by Trey Mason.
You know, that shows you sort of the mindset right now where Saskatchewan's at. They're trying to just sort of limit the damage here in the first half, because with 24 seconds you have maybe 3, maybe 4 plays if you're real efficient to get into field goal range, and the first one and the decision there was to run the ball. That's,
in case you're wondering, this isn't the biggest halftime lead for Winnipeg against Saskatchewan. Labor Day weekend 1959, 41-0 Bombers was the halftime lead. Calaros throws incomplete, looking for more. So no offensive touchdowns last week in the win over Edmonton. Picked off twice here in the first half is Zach Calaros.
I've been trying to watch the Saskatchewan bench, and it really hasn't looked like Brandon Bridge has got warmed up in the bullpen at all. And I'm not putting blame on this first half on just strictly on Zach Collaros, but
and back to the ground they go. Oh, look out. Big stick there by Loeffler as he stepped into Mason. What a first half. Loeffler's had 2 interceptions. Big tackle there. It will be a first down for Saskatchewan. 2 seconds left to go here in the first half.
Well, and I'll tell you, Gord, knowing Taylor Loeffler and the way he plays, this he likes more than the 2 interceptions. This play right here, that's the one that'll be his favorite from this game so far.
Should be the final play of the first half. Collaros heaves it up looking for Hawley, and the pass is incomplete. A flag comes down. Hawley was tangled up there with the Winnipeg defender.
Caleb Hawley pulled Kevin Fogg down.
Yeah, so
this will be offensive, if anything.
Offensive pass interference. Saskatchewan number 83. That penalty is declined. That'll end the half.
Not a moment too soon for Saskatchewan as Winnipeg has things its own way in the opening 30 minutes. A 31-0 lead as we send you to Rod Smith, the panel, and CFL at the half. Getting set for the start of the second half here in Winnipeg. The Saskatchewan Roughriders very slow to come out of the tunnel here after what was undoubtedly a long and somewhat unpleasant conversation in their locker room. A 31-0 lead for the Bombers after the opening 30 minutes in a game in which Saskatchewan could put itself on the verge of clinching a home playoff spot in the West Division. It might find itself in a dogfight now. If Winnipeg wins this one, goes to 9-7, Saskatchewan would drop to 10-6. So we're waiting to hear from Chris Jones, the Saskatchewan head coach, and here he is with Sarah Orlesky.
Chris, it's been 6 quarters now where your offense hasn't been able to find the back of the end zone. Do we see Zach Collaros here in the third quarter?
Yes, you will.
Right. What was your biggest concern when you look at that opening 2 quarters?
They're up 31-0.
What was the message to the team?
Just don't worry about the score. Just come out here, and when we walk back in, be a better football team.
Thanks so much.
We'll just scrape the ice off Sarah.
Which has nothing to do with the weather right now.
Winnipeg, by the way, won the toss prior to the game and elected to defer, and will kick off here, take the win in the fourth quarter. A Saskatchewan win today, by the way, would require the largest comeback in Canadian Football League history. But I think, you know, to the point, Glenn, that Chris Jones made rather tersely was you got to play better.
Yeah.
That's the biggest focus. Just play better. Purifoy on the kickoff return.
Well,
to the 38-yard line.
Yeah, you got to play better. You know, when Sarah asked the question, you know, what did you see as the major issue in the first half? 31-0 is a pretty you know, vague way to answer that question. The most important one, though, was will we see Zach Collaros? He did answer that with a one-worder, and Collaros back to start this third quarter. I mean, this is probably a bigger picture thought for Chris Jones than just this game.
Right. First down, Saskatchewan from the Winnipeg 38-yard line. Collaros to the sidelines, and the pass is incomplete. Looking there for Caleb Hawley.
And, you know, what I mean by that is Zach Collaros has got to get this offense going. I mean,
he's won for his last 8, Glenn.
Yeah, and he's hasn't, as Sarah mentioned, scored a touchdown in 6 quarters now offensively. Brandon Bridge is not even trying to loosen up down there on the sideline, although at this point in the game, that backup quarterback can't do it until he gets the nod from the head coach. He can't be hinting back there, hey, coach, by the way, I'm warm if you need me. You know, you can't be doing that.
On second down, here comes Big Hill, and down goes Collaros.
Trey Mason missed him.
Second sack of the game for Big Hill. Who is the top defensive player in the Canadian Football League this year? Who's the top defensive player in Winnipeg this year?
Yeah, Adam Bighill right here coming off the edge, and Trey Mason at the top of your screen has got to step over and try and pick him up, and watch what happens. Sidesteps him, gets a handful of Collaros' jersey and does not let go.
Low kick to Fogg, who pounces on that rolling ball and hangs on at the 45-yard line. In the meantime, Matt Nichols had a nightmarish first half. The last time these two teams met was spot on in the first.
Yeah, made a couple big plays. That first quarter, both offenses struggled, but this play kind of opened things up a little bit for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensively. They hit Darvin Adams on that 72-yarder. Strebler had a touchdown throw to Weston Dressler as well, but play action, one of the weapons for Nichols in the first half.
And Andrew Harris will get a chance to pad his rushing totals here in the second half as he gets out to the 50-yard line for a gain of 5. And by the way, Brandon Bridge is now warming up on the Saskatchewan sideline.
Along with Watford, so this is not unusual to have both backups, the number 2 guy and the number 3 guy, warming up together, but
until the left sleeve comes off.
A little bit of sun poking out here in Winnipeg. We've got a little bit of it all now.
Second down, Nichols fires, and the pass is caught for a first down by Kendall Tompkins.
Take a look at when you're feeling comfortable, when you're confident, veteran quarterbacks. We talked about how similar the two were. Watch Nichols here. Hard look to his right. Okay, now he is locked in. Look at the defenders going with him as they spy that look. And now he flips back and drops it right in there. Cameron Judge doesn't have a chance. He went with the first look.
Give it off to Harris, wrapped up by Jefferson, and Willie Jefferson throws down Keenan LaFrance hard. Who's your pick for the Riders' best defensive player this year?
Tough. It's a tough decision. I mean, there's this guy here. I know he doesn't make the play on this one. That guy there, who does on this particular running play to Chris LaFrance. Or excuse me, Keenan LaFrance. I went back in time there.
Yes, there you go.
Old teammate of mine. But yeah, there's a couple, and I put Iguavin in that conversation too.
Second down, Nichols' pass is tipped and falls incomplete.
Iguavin got a tip on it. Yeah, Samuel Iguavin, when you look at the stat sheet from top to bottom all the way across, he leads his team in defensive plays. Involved in the interception department, the sack department, tackles for losses, the whole picture. Same can be said for Willie Jefferson. And then when you have Charleston Hughes, who leads the league in sacks with 15, he's the front runner.
Justin Medlock leads the Canadian Football League in punts inside the opposition 10. He's done it 12 times this year. Angling for the corner again. Good kick. Inside the 10-yard line is Kyron Moore, and Moore stopped at the 15. And it'll be Brandon Bridge at quarterback for Saskatchewan when we come back to Winnipeg on the CFL on TSN. The quarterback change is made, Glenn, as Zach Collaros gives way to Brandon Bridge.
Yeah, that first one, not necessarily his fault. That was a fumble recovery for a touchdown, but he's locking in, telegraphing throws. The 2 to Taylor Loeffler certainly were telegraph throws to intended targets where the safety just jumped the throw in the throwing motion and the look from Zach Collaros. So we see Brandon Bridge.
Fourth-year man, spent 3 years with the Montreal Alouettes. And gives it off to Trey Mason, and Mason room to run. As Sale steps into him, but not before Mason has a first down and more out to the 31-yard line.
Well, that was a great spin move right at the line of scrimmage. Mason looked like he was caught in the backfield, and he just spun out of it.
Gain was 17.
Santos Knox had him right at the line of scrimmage. Great spin move.
Brandon Bridge last threw a pass in a CFL game against Winnipeg in the second half of the Labor Day back-to-back. Went 3 for 6 that day. Here comes the rush, screens it off. And the pass is caught by Patrick Lavoie, and Lavoie goes up the sidelines, dragged down by Opolo. So Patrick Lavoie, acquired this week from Montreal, makes the catch and gets a first down out close to midfield.
Well, by the play calling, Saskatchewan is easing Brandon Bridge into his playing time here in Winnipeg for a little draw and first down, and then screen pass to Patrick Lavoie.
They mark him out of bounds at the 50-yard line. First down, Saskatchewan. Here comes the blitz. Bridge stands in, throws for Shaw, incomplete. He was in behind Sales for a moment, and Bridge couldn't get him.
Santos Knox got there. They send the safety again, Taylor Loeffler. This time he gets caught in the wash a little bit. Not sure who put the hit finally on Bridge. I thought it was Knox. Let's take a look, because Bridge has to rush it. Even though he sees pressure coming, you can see the line of scrimmage is full of blue jerseys. There's Taylor Loeffler. It wasn't Knox. It was actually Gator and Knox together. Had to rush it, but didn't miss by much either.
Brings up 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush again. Bridge gets away under pressure, and Big Hill tracks him down. A gain of 2, and Saskatchewan will have to punt.
Opolo comes off the edge here. You won't see him at the beginning of this play. Well, you will. He's right there off the edge. And he's the guy who forces Brandon Bridge out of the pocket first. And then it's up to linebacker Adam Big Hill to chase him down. Big Hill had dropped on this play. Now he's got to get him before Bridge can get the corner. Because if he gets the corner, he probably gets the first down. But I would say there's a little spark there. Brandon Bridge in the lineup.
Good kick by Bartel. Fogg inside his 20-yard line. And Fogg takes a big hit on special teams as he gets up to the 24-yard line. It's been a day of redemption for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Andrew Harris and company having things their way.
Commentator Outdoor Clothing is brought to you by Nobis. This is Nobis.
Come in handy on a chilly day here, and shaking up for Saskatchewan on the special teams play was Brandon Bartlett, who makes his way to the Riders sideline.
Yeah, good to see that he got up. And if you're a young football player watching, don't drop your chin and put your head down in contact like that.
Nichols has all kinds of time and throws, and the pass is caught as Wolotarski makes the catch.
Been a clean game when you consider Willie Jefferson and Charleston Hughes are on the defensive line that they're facing. Pretty clean game for Matt Nichols. It's not like he's been harassed and trying to rush throws. Play action has helped in that regard.
Second and inches. And Winnipeg will have it easily as Strevler dives ahead. Matt Nichols needed this one, Glenn. Even though his team had won 3 in a row coming in, there was the memories of the last game against Saskatchewan.
Well, he would have watched that video all week long, the back-to-back games that they played against the Rider defense, and would have seen those plays many, many times. And it's tough on players when you're on the wrong end of games like that, and you're trying to get rid of those memories yet learn from them. And that's what, as Sarah reported in the first half, Matt did. He, with the help of Bill Belichick.
Strevler stays in, hands off to Harris. And Harris picks up a gain of a couple. Here's Sarah Oleski with some injury updates for us.
Yeah, Gordo, is obviously a tough first half for the Riders on the scoreboard. Same, too, on the injury front on both sides of the ball. We saw Darius Splatuk be taken off on the cart. All that the Riders are saying is that it is a significant knee injury that he has suffered. Also, Matt Elam and Zach Evans on the defensive side of the ball, both of them are done for the day with undisclosed injuries.
So as we mentioned, the Saskatchewan offensive line already thin coming in, gets even thinner this afternoon. Back in is Nichols, looking over the top for Adams, and the pass is incomplete. Ed Gainey back on the coverage.
Well, take a look as Sarah mentions those injuries. Look who they've got playing corner now. Toby Antigua has come over here and had Kendrell Thompson stayed outside. He would have been in a one-on-one matchup with Antigua. That may be something that Winnipeg goes back to. Now, Toby Antigua can run, and he can play safety. We've seen that before.
He's listed as a defensive end.
Exactly, but he was out there playing corner.
And now Mike O'Shea is going to challenge, I think, for pass interference on this play. This has not been an O'Shea specialty this year. He's 1 for 6 on challenges.
Winnipeg is challenging that there was pass interference on the play. We'll review the play.
Yeah, I have a theory on that.
Okay.
I have a theory on that. Why he's 1 and 6. We'll talk about it after the break.
I can't wait. A challenge in a 31-0 game. That might turn the temperature up even more between Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. Coming at halftime of the Edmonton-Ottawa game, we'll reveal our top 4 finalists for Kraft Heinz Project Play. One community will win $250,000 for their recreational facility. Here's the call from Tom Valesi.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It'll be 3rd down.
Make it 1 and 7.
And here's my theory on Mike O'Shea and why he's 1 and 7. I think Mike O'Shea prides himself on being a player coach.
Right.
A coach that, you know, he's not that far removed from playing himself. And I think he believes his players.
So when Adams says...
So Adams is trying to signal to him, and maybe not even particular on this play, but in plays earlier this season when a player has come, throw the flag, throw challenge, and he goes, okay, I'll trust you. And then they go back and look, and they go, no, that you weren't going to win that one. I think that's one of the reasons.
So Medlock in the punt. Thigpen from the 35-yard line. And again, great coverage by the Winnipeg special teams.
Found a lower price on tires? We'll match it, guaranteed.
Glenn, in 1986, you were part of a Saskatchewan team that lost 56-0 here to Winnipeg. How do you come back from a lopsided loss like this?
Well, you know, at that time, we weren't a second-place team that lost like that. And this game, we'll see how it ends up. And if they can, you know, what you try to do is win the 4th quarter, build something positive, learn from it.
Rich throws, and Thigpen makes the catch, goes out of bounds at the 47-yard line.
But it's tough, and it hits you. I mean, it hits you because it's like, and I hear the term wake-up call all the time, but you know, I think it's bigger than that. It's something that you've got to try and flush but learn from. And those are two complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
Steve Daniel, the ace statistician for the Canadian Football League, pointing out this is the biggest halftime deficit for Saskatchewan since August of 2003, a 62-7 loss to Montreal. They were down 41-7 at half. And down goes Bridge as he is sacked by Gator.
Yeah, Gator gets the sack. Craig Rowe gets the assist. There's Gator right there, and Craig Rowe's right here. And take a look at how they work together. The edge man making sure that Brandon Bridge can't escape outside and has to step up. And why does Craig Rowe take that angle? Because he knows Anthony Gator is coming right down A gap. And if the quarterback steps up, he steps into his teammate.
Bartel kicks it deep to Fogg inside the 30-yard line. And he picks his way out to the 33. Been lots to celebrate for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in every phase of the game, including another sack for Anthony Gator. Michael O'Shea's Bombers trying to extend their winning streak to 4 straight on the sidelines of Sarah Orlesky.
Well, Gord, this game had a lot of importance for both teams. I mean, the Riders had come into this game hoping that they would be able to do their part to be almost able to secure a home playoff date. For the Bombers, it's about trying to win their 4th in a row and not wanting to lose any ground. They headed into today 2 points up on BC and Edmonton, and they know that they could very well be facing the Riders in the playoffs, and they wanted to make sure that they set a tone here and sent a message, which they have through the first 2 quarters.
And after the 2 losses, the Labor Day back-to-back, I mean, getting swept in a season series by your arch rival doesn't go down well. Proud football team and a proud head coach in Michael O'Shea. And meantime, Chris Jones is looking for answers. And I think Adam Bighill likes what he's seeing on that tablet.
That's a good shot. Slightly.
Talking to Craig Rowe. Best nickname in the CFL, Craig Death Row.
And one of the best clips at a halftime interview, too.
That pass incomplete for Dressler. Fumble. It's a fumble. He's off and running. So they're going to call this a completion, a fumble.
Or a lateral pass is what I should say.
Moving on the field is an incomplete pass.
Okay, so they're saying it was forward, but that's how Dressler played it. He played it as if it was a lateral behind the line of scrimmage. Therefore, a fumble, not a incomplete pass, which he could then pick up. Ball just in between the 32 and the 33.
He might be right. Dressler, by the way, 6 games against his old team. Has 500 yards receiving on 31 catches and 3 touchdowns. Now Nichols up and throwing, and the pass is caught. And still running is Drew Wolotarski out across the 50 to the 51-yard line. What has impressed you most about the Bombers today?
Well, first of all, the balance in their offense. Secondly, the effectiveness of the play-action game that Matt Nichols has put together. The defense, Taylor Loeffler and Adam Bighill, and the play right down the middle of their defense. Paul LaPolice going into the playbook, mixing it up against a good Saskatchewan defense, a dominant Saskatchewan defense coming into this game.
Nichols swings it out. And once again running is Wolotarski, who gets across midfield and down to the Saskatchewan 52-yard line. Wolotarski, a California native, played at the University of Minnesota.
And good friends of Matt Nichols. And this is a guy, you know, this is maybe the most important part. Matt Nichols is back. He's back. Right. He's comfortable again. He's in his comfort zone. And I'm not saying he can't throw for 300 yards. When I say his game is sort of 325, 350, couple of touchdowns, no interceptions. He's capable of 300-yard games. He has 14 in his career.
Stands in again and fires the pass just behind the intended target. Cameron Tompkins falls incomplete.
Now, and he misses that throw, but he's been on target tonight or today. The accuracy has been there. I like the way he's looking off coverage. That tells you when a quarterback's in a groove because he's looking off and then going back to his players. Remember the throw to Dembski when he got in trouble, knew exactly where his check down guy was and got it out to Dembski. That kind of stuff tells you he's back and comfortable again. And again, we said it in the first half, Winnipeg is 8-0 this year when it wins the turnover battle. 0-7 when it doesn't.
Saskatchewan.
Well, and
now Saskatchewan calls timeout.
In those 2 games that they lost, the Bombers, they were a -5. 8 turnovers for Winnipeg in those 2 games, Labor Day rematch, to 3 for the Bomber defense, and that script is completely flipped.
What's going on here? Saskatchewan's got complete change on the field here. Crowd giving it to Chris Jones for calling
here
timeout.
we go, guys. Here we go.
Ow. Okay, turn your mic off when you blow the whistle, Tom.
Wow. Sorry about that. Sorry about that at home if that was as loud as it was in my headset.
Speakers can be replaced on a television set, but it's not cheap. Medlock sends that to Moore, and Moore down to the 20-yard line. And a big stop this time by Ian Wild on the special teams for Winnipeg. So we've talked about the importance of this game on a number of levels. Saskatchewan a chance to try to clinch a home playoff berth, but as Sarah mentioned, Winnipeg's got BC and Edmonton right behind them.
So Winnipeg, not only they hold on and win this game, hang on for dear life at 31-0. Hey, they moved to 9-7. And a home playoff game, as you mentioned off the top, not out of the realm of possibility.
Right. They'd have to win out.
And between BC and Edmonton, they play each other.
Yeah, Winnipeg's got Calgary next week and then Edmonton after that. That pass falls incomplete.
Exactly. So they play each other, and one of those two teams might be on the outside looking in.
And we've got Ottawa, Edmonton coming up next, followed by BC Calgary.
Hamilton won last night.
Yeah.
They're in the review mirror of the Ottawa Red Blacks for first in the division and that bye to the Eastern Final. Edmonton desperately trying to get back on track. I mean, that's a massive game for them for a lot of reasons, not just in the standings.
Second down, Saskatchewan. Here comes the rush. Bridge trying to get away and throws it. It's almost intercepted, as Sales couldn't hang on to that. So again, a third down for Saskatchewan.
Well, and I mentioned off the first series for Brandon Bridge that it looked like the offense played with a little more, maybe a little more jump, just the change. Sometimes it's just the change alone that gives them a little lift, but since then it's been a lot of the same. And the Bomber defense shutting them down.
8 2-and-outs for Saskatchewan today.
Yeah.
Fogg's been busy fielding punts from Saskatchewan all afternoon. And gets brought down quickly. As down the special teams tackle was Alexander Gagne. So Strevel will come on for the Winnipeg offense. He's got a running touchdown today, a throwing touchdown as well. He's got 10 passing touchdowns on the season. That's more than Zach Collaros has for Saskatchewan. And Streveler is seen limited playing time.
Paul Appelese will do that. I mean, he goes into third and a yard, and be careful if you just think it's going to be a quarterback sneak every time.
Streveler's 23 years of age, first-year man out of South Dakota.
And
all good.
And here's what I mentioned with Nichols: 10 of 18, 155, 1 touchdown, no picks.
Right.
Very pedestrian-looking numbers, but he played very well this afternoon.
So the third quarter comes to an end, and the Bombers maintain their 31-0 lead as the race in the West just gets tighter as the season goes along. So here are the numbers through 3 quarters of play, and of course it is pretty one-sided for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Saskatchewan has just 9 first downs in the game, 134 net yards. The big number that stands out, Glenn, the 3 turnovers by Saskatchewan, none by Winnipeg.
Yeah, and the 2 games that Saskatchewan won in the regular season, they won that turnover battle with a +5. They had 8 turnovers to 3 for the Bombers. The Bombers defensively, I think over the last 3 or 4 weeks in this win streak, their defense has moved up in the rankings to a point where they're as good as any D in the league right now.
Wow, that's a pretty strong statement for a team that at the start of the year really struggled defensively.
Well, they did. They've had their ups and downs. They've had a couple of streaks, but there was a time this season that Richie Hall was under the gun, their defensive coordinator, to a point where a lot of the fans wanted him fired. And for Michael O'Shea to move in another direction defensively, but in this win streak, Taylor Loeffler, Adam Bighill, and they don't have Jackson Jeffcoat back in the lineup. They don't have Maurice Leggett in the lineup defensively.
Second and long to start the fourth quarter. Streveler's under pressure. He'll get away, and a first down and more into Saskatchewan territory, down to the 42-yard line.
Good pocket presence here for Chris Streveler, the youngster who started the 3 games to start the season when Matt Nichols was out. He felt the stunt coming from Charleston Hughes. So he ran that little twist in the middle and came up right in his face, and Streveler knew exactly when to escape.
Gain of 15 yards, first down, Winnipeg. Flip there to Wolotarski, and Wolotarski around the end's got Darvin Adams blocking for him. But that's the second time this afternoon that Wolotarski has stumbled like that. Might have picked up a few more yards there. Does get a first down to the Saskatchewan 30.
Play we haven't seen all afternoon. Basically a fly sweep, but a pitch underneath, which is a forward pass, even though it was thrown underhand.
Kind of locked ankles there with a teammate as Adams was throwing the block. So another first down for Winnipeg. So the Bombers won 3 in a row, lost 4 in a row, and this afternoon can post a 4-game winning streak.
With Calgary and Edmonton left in the schedule, and a bye.
And on the first down carry, there is LaFrance, who gets 5 down to the 26. Sarah Leske reporting from the sidelines that Andrew Harris is done for the afternoon, not injured, but just will take a seat.
Yeah, that's smart move by Michael O'Shea, and something that at times you don't see. And I always scratch my head a little bit why the starting quarterback is out there late in games when team has a big lead. Starting tailback.
Streveler throws, and the pass is intercepted by Derek Moncrief. He was tackled by the intended receiver, Daniel Peterman. So Moncrief with the pick. And there's the first turnover of the afternoon by the Blue Bombers. It remains a 31-0 lead for Winnipeg on Saskatchewan.
On TSN.
Yeah, you've been on the bench press, I can tell. I don't know if you've been squatting or not.
I'm the one who taught Dozier how to play safety, all right? I gave him hands. This is my son.
I really want to punch you in the face, but I'm not. Yeah. Oh, I could. Because I know I'd win that fight. I know I would.
Never dull. CFL Wired, Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on TSN 1 and 5.
So he was telling Dozier, he taught Dozier how to play? Okay.
Brandon Bridge stays in for Saskatchewan under pressure, gets away from Rowe. But gets tracked down after that and is dropped by Brandon Bryant. Did you hear Mark Trestman last night in the mic'd up game? Said, I'm wearing a mic tonight. I'm not going to say anything, but otherwise I would.
Yeah, unhappy with a lost challenge in that game last night and another loss for the Argos. But tough season for them coming off their championship year.
Yeah. Well, you lose your quarterback, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could say that pretty much every team across the league. I mean, lose your starter, it's a tougher battle.
Second down, Bridge throws, the pass is intercepted, tipped into the hands of Fogg, and now a flag comes down. Brandon Bridge was belted at the end of that play. I think it was Santos Knox who got him. And this interception is likely to be wiped out by a roughing the passer call.
Roughing the passer. Winnipeg number 45. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Yeah, this is going to be called, and Santos Knox, who comes off the edge clean. Can he pull up? Can he avoid this type of contact after the ball is thrown? Another step, and just rocks him without letting up at all.
So the ball moved up to the 44-yard line. First down, Saskatchewan. And a good scoop and catch there up to the 50-yard line by Patrick Lavoie.
Now, having said that, Javon Santos-Knox to me has had an all-star season. I think, you know, him, I'm sure he's learned a ton from Adam Bighill and playing beside Bighill. But here's a guy who has 6 sacks on the year, Gordon, and that's #1 from linebackers in the CFL.
He, like a lot of players on both sides of the border, is really shaking his head about what constitutes roughing the passer these days.
Well, you know, it's an evolution of the rule.
Second down, Bridge throws, another diving catch. Should be enough for a first down as the ball is caught by Kenny Shaw.
It's even tougher down south right now because of the rule where you can't put your body weight on a quarterback after you hit him, and that's even tougher for defenders to understand. But I've seen the change over the last 3 years. There's a better understanding for defensive linemen, linebackers, when they can carry through with the tackle, where the target area is.
On first down, Bridge under pressure. Santos Knox chasing him down, pushes him back. Bridge gets away, heaves it deep for Shaw. Incomplete. Oh, that was an adventure.
Well, it's an example of a couple of athletes and how athletic they really are. Watch Santos Knox first. Let's take a look at his whole play. This is his journey. He steps up on Brendan Labatt, goes out and around the edge. He gets in a one-on-one there with Brandon Bridge, another great athlete. Fights off him. He's a cruising lineman flying around after him in Josiah St. John, and then from about 40 yards away, watches Kenny Shaw just barely drop that one, the other end.
And the result is 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush again from Santos Knox. Bridge sidesteps him again. Now Bighill trying to track him down. Not getting away that time.
What a smart move by Adam Bighill. You know, Santos Knox has had a great series. I mean, you know, he got the penalty, but he's been all over the quarterback. He went on a twist here with Adam Bighill. So one comes one way, the other twists in behind. Santos Knox is the second guy. He forces Brandon Bridge out. In the meantime, Adam Bighill got caught inside and spun out of the block and got the right angle to cut Brandon Bridge off so he couldn't get the edge and get a first down. It was a great decision at the time by number 4.
It's like watching one of those nature shows with Adam Bighill. The lion always wins in the end. In this case, the ex-lion.
Even if you're cheering for the rabbit?
Yeah. You're cheering for the wildebeest, the lion always wins. Knox taken down inside the 20-yard line. 8:46 to go here in the 4th quarter. Winnipeg having things its own way. Here's today's connection to the game, brought to you by Shaw.
Well, it was early on, first quarter, 72 yards. Darvin Adams, the receiving end of Matt Nichols.
A little swagger for Nichols.
Outstanding throw.
Well, and remember, he left the field under very different circumstances the last time they played here. 3 picks in the first half, 2 of them returned for touchdowns.
Yep.
He was lifted at halftime. So, for a lot of reasons, this is a big day for Matt Nichols.
Come a long way back since then. And looking at win number 4 in a row.
Strebler stays in now and gives it off to LaFrance, who dives ahead for a couple. And the conversations continue, or the retorts, if you like, on the field. So 8:13 to go here in the fourth quarter. And Winnipeg all of a sudden with a chance to go to 9-7, get in the mix for a home playoff date. Again, Winnipeg would have to win out, and Saskatchewan would have to lose its 2 remaining games, or its 3 remaining games rather, to.
Yeah, well, they have Calgary, BC.
After this, yeah.
Calgary, BC.
Yeah, sorry, 2 remaining games. So that BC Saskatchewan game looming pretty large. Weber throws, and LaFrance on a big collision. Shakes off the hit from McGuavin, but is thrown back short of a Winnipeg first down.
Well, you know, and we look at the 2 games following this one, and BC's got a big one, of course, a monster game that they've got a. Travis Lulay's going to start that game.
Yeah.
And that's been an interesting story over the last 3 weeks with Jonathan Jennings.
And by the way, Adam Bighill telling us yesterday that don't count out BC with Lulay at quarterback. The guy just knows his way around the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, absolutely. He's a veteran and had won the starting job. You know, if you take the Ed Hervey and Jonathan Jennings exchange out of it, and that defense in BC has played well over the last 4 weeks as well.
Fake pen from the 46-yard line. Buried by Miles up at midfield. Brandon Bridge back to work in a moment. NFL and TSN continues Sunday with 5 early games, including a battle between the Steelers and the 4-1 Bengals. Cardinals and Vikings also on the docket. Coverage starts at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific across TSN Network and CTV. Go to footballlives.com for a complete broadcast schedule. Ball at midfield for Saskatchewan. The clock running inside 7 to go. Bridge throws, and the pass is caught by Lavoie. Fights his way down to the 40-yard line. You were part of that team for Saskatchewan that lost 56-0 here.
That's the second time you reminded me
in '86. Yeah. Saskatchewan's only been shut out 1 time since 2014 by Edmonton, 24-0.
Yeah, getting some points and breaking the shutout is a small win. I mean, it's important.
Bridge fires, and the pass is caught, dropped, and does Fogg have it? This is a fumble and recovery by Fogg. Another turnover forced by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The 4th of the day. They lead the league in turnovers forced. Now we'll see if this is ruled a catch and a fumble.
Yeah, and Chris Jones is trying to figure out did he have possession, which would mean it was a fumble, or was it an incomplete pass and a knockdown by Kevin Fogg?
All turnovers, as I mentioned, are reviewed.
Curl route. Fogg's right in his hip pocket. Tough to tell from that angle. This will be better. Ruling on the field is fumble, recovered by Winnipeg. So this would have to have evidence here that would overturn that call.
Right. And it looks like the ruling on the field will stand.
Super slow-mo is a little bit misleading, but it looked like he did have possession.
So Saskatchewan turned away Winnipeg, by the way. Last shot at an opponent in 2006, 29-0 over Hamilton. So 5:45 to go here in the fourth quarter, and the Bombers get the ball back. And Jefferson way offside there.
Offside. Saskatchewan number 7. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Well, you know, we said off the top, and the panel talked about it too with the Bombers. This was a big boy game. This was a game where they were going to either say to the rest of the league that we're for real and have to be considered as one of the teams that could take a run in the playoffs and get there to the championship.
Well, Winnipeg's put on its big boy pants today because it's in all phases of the game. As LaFrance goes off tackle and across the 51-yard line for a Winnipeg first down. I mean, special teams have been really good on coverage.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Great defensively, obviously, with the turnovers forced. The offense has been, to use your term, efficient.
Efficient and going by the Bomber offensive formula, which is big plays down the field when they need them. That's where Darvin Adams comes in. But Michael O'Shea was under the gun, and this fan base wanted him to bench Matt Nichols.
Well, Nichols talked about it, getting benched, or getting booed rather, earlier in the season. As now Streveler's under pressure and gets a couple. August 17th against Ottawa, got booed pretty hard, and talked about it after the game, how frustrating it was. And then when he got pulled in the Labor Day rematch here in the first half, after the first half, in the second half, they showed during a commercial break of Matt Nichols' public service announcement on the scoreboard. They booed that.
Yeah. And that week, boy, the fan base wanted a change. Right. They wanted to see Chris Streveler back as a starting quarterback. And Michael O'Shea, through that bye week, took his time, said, no, I'm sticking with the guy.
Screen pass knocked down by Charleston Hughes. And that'll bring up third down.
And I remember thinking at the time and doing a little radio across the country and talking about the decision by Michael O'Shea was that's going to turn out to be one that may put his job in jeopardy because they continued to tailspin when they were in the middle of that 4-game losing streak, and they continue to keep losing, and he didn't make the change. Or it'll be one of those great stories that we tell as the Bombers go into a playoff game as a head coach backing his guy, not giving in to the noise around him, and sticking with Matt Nichols. And their defense has been a big part of this story, but Matt Nichols is back and confident and comfortable again.
That punt goes straight out of bounds inside the 10, down to the 8-yard line. The other factor for Winnipeg all season long, Glenn, penalties. The least penalized team in the league today, just 4 penalties for 45 yards.
Yeah, well, and that comes up big in the playoff time too. When you have 100 yards in penalties, you're not going to win. And the teams that struggle in that area, and Edmonton's been in that category. They've improved of late, but they've been, for the most part this year, the most penalized team, and that's one thing they've got to get rid of. They want to get back on track.
So now you got 3.5 to go, and a long way to go for Saskatchewan. First down at its own 10-yard line to try to break this shutout. Bridge goes underneath, and the pass is dropped by Trey Mason.
Now, how tough has it been to try and evaluate Brandon Bridge since he's entered the ball game? I mean, first of all, not a game that he was going to come back and beat Winnipeg in. We've seen some of the elusiveness, athleticism. I don't think there's a chance that we're talking anywhere near a quarterback controversy here going into the next game for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, it's Chris Jones' turn to answer those questions now.
Well, exactly.
Bridge sidearms it to Thigpen. One-on-one in the flat with Gator, and Gator able to trip up Thigpen short of a Saskatchewan first down.
And those are questions he didn't want to answer at all at halftime. But we'll get asked that question. And, I'm not sure that Brandon Bridge has shown that he could take it to another level, although he has shown that athleticism again, which is an element that Zach Collaros and running the football just hasn't done this year.
Second consecutive week so far that Saskatchewan has not scored an offensive touchdown.
Well, the fan base in Saskatchewan has said it all year long. There's going to be a time when the team needs their offense to win a high-scoring game. And the question is, can they do it? Well, they so far haven't been able to.
Fogg from the Saskatchewan 53-yard line inside the 50 and down to the 48. We've hit the 3-minute warning in Winnipeg. The Bombers all their way.
Coming up up on Super Saturday, part 2 of our triple header. Mike Riley and the Eskimos have been struggling. They've fallen into a tie with BC for the last playoff spot. They will host the Ottawa Red Blacks. Kickoff coming up in minutes from Commonwealth. But first, the conclusion in Winnipeg as we go back to Gord Miller.
All right, thank you, Rod. Big day of football here on TSN. And a big win going into the books pretty soon for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have the ball at the Saskatchewan 48-yard line. And a proud Saskatchewan defense that has really carried this team the last few weeks. Stands in again. And Keaton LaFrance for the first down carry. Out across the 40, just short of the first down to the 39.
Well, and maybe the Bombers offensively here this afternoon have sort of thrown a blueprint out there as to how you may attack a Saskatchewan defense. When a Saskatchewan defense with Chris Jones moving all the parts around the way he does and being as aggressive as he is, maybe part of that blueprint is to counter the aggressiveness with misdirection. And that's where the play action game for the Bombers came in. The fakes, the boots. Remember when Strevler turned his back to the defense on that play action and then ran for 20+ yards?
Cale Brooks is the injured Saskatchewan Roughrider. They've had more than their share of injuries this week, and going back to last week, 2 offensive linemen are hurt, 2 key receivers are out.
That was the first game back for Cale Brooks, and
the last thing they want to see at this time of the year with the playoffs approaching.
You see him just on the other side of the goalpost. Take a look at what happens. He got caught there. His own teammate may have rolled into him.
Already in this game, Saskatchewan lost offensive lineman Darius Bladek to what the Riders are telling Cyril Oleski was a significant knee injury.
By the way, Sarah is a candidate for player of the game, being down there in the cold today.
She'd been down there in the cold. Yeah. She had to interview Chris Jones at halftime of a 31-0 score.
That makes the... Well, they're going to be careful with this injury as well.
And the cart's back out again for the second time today for Saskatchewan Roughriders. So,
well, we think of the cart in the worst possible way because of if there's ever, and it's rare, but if there's ever a neck injury and something like that. But this is to stabilize the leg, make sure they get it checked out.
Brooks, the former BC Lion. On a day where absolutely nothing has gone right for Saskatchewan. Hard to believe that a month ago, Winnipeg lost back-to-back to Saskatchewan. Had lost 4 in a row. You talked about fans here howling. Matt Nichols had been pulled out of the game in the first half. Another smiling for team pictures on the bench. Riding a 4-game winning streak with a 31-0 lead. Funny game, this.
Every game a different journey.
Yeah, and Brooks is taken to the Saskatchewan locker room. As you mentioned, his first game back.
And a dominant interior alignment when he's in there and healthy. That helps guys like Hughes and Jefferson off the edge in a big way.
2nd and 2 for Winnipeg. And Strevler dives ahead. So earlier today it was snowing lightly, a little bit windy. Strevler came out to warm up prior to the game.
Well, it was cold. It was freezing cold.
Prior to chopping down some trees on his way to the stadium.
He's out there catching some walleye, and then
he looks like he might be right at home, and what we're going to see a month from now. Unlikely we'll see any indoor playoff games in the CFL this year. BC still has a outside shot, I suppose, at getting a home playoff date, but it's going to be the great outdoors, looks like, on the road to the 106th Grey Cup in Edmonton. There's LaFrance on the carry, and he should have another first down inside the 30 and down to the 28-yard line. And Winnipeg just grinding it out here in the fourth quarter. This game was 31-0 at half and remains that way here late in the fourth quarter.
You know, the West has always been tight, but I can't remember a year where the 4 teams, and there's so much to be decided with just 3, or in BC's case, 4 games to go. We got 2 games after this one coming right up.
And you got a 12-2 team at the top in Calgary.
Yeah, but that's not completely locked up. Their playoff
spot,
yeah. The fact they're in the playoffs is. Winnipeg will improve to 9 wins.
Yeah.
Saskatchewan sits at 10. I mean, it's as good as done for Calgary to have that bye to the final. Bombers, as you've mentioned, Calgary
and Saskatchewan
next, and then Edmonton.
And Saskatchewan and Calgary still play, so mathematically Saskatchewan's still in the mix as of right now.
Yeah, they play next week.
And LaFrance punches down to the 20-yard line as the clock is inside a minute. And the Saskatchewan Roughriders will take a shutout defeat, it would appear, here in Winnipeg. Just the second time in 32 years they've been blanked, and the first time since 2003. Or pardon me, 2014 rather. It'll be Winnipeg's first shutout since 06.
Timeout, Winnipeg.
And Winnipeg calls timeout. Wow.
Timer, please reset the clock to 17 seconds.
So second down from the 20. Next up for Winnipeg against Calgary here at home. Saskatchewan as their next in Calgary.
I'm not sure why that timeout was called when you can basically kneel twice here and end this game.
Here's LaFrance again. Picked up short. It'll be third down. 12 seconds to go. So time winding down here, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers with authority avenge the back-to-back defeats to Saskatchewan and win it 31-0. Winnipeg improves to 9-7. Saskatchewan drops to 10-6. And the picture in the West doesn't get any clearer. Time now for the Nissan Titan Player of the Game, brought to you by the Nissan Titan, official vehicle of the CFL.
Honorable mention to Sarah Orleski on the sideline, as cold as she was down there and doing a great job. We had a couple of great candidates tonight, though, on the field. Taylor Loeffler with 2 picks and a couple of big hits. Adam Bighill, who was all over the field again and registered 3 sacks, 8 tackles, his 600th, and another 100-yard tackle season. So we gave it to both of them, Taylor Loeffler and Adam Bighill.
Well, there was no shortage of candidates on the Winnipeg side, that's for sure. 31-0 is your final score. Just the start of CFL action here on TSNA. 2 more games to come. Send you back to Rod Smith.
Thank you, Gordon.